It was early spring in the town of Nazareth, and the air was filled with the excitement of preparation. The Passover festival was near, and families from all over Israel were preparing for the long journey to Jerusalem. Among the travelers were Mary, Joseph, and their 12-year-old son, Jesus. This year was particularly special, as Jesus had grown into a young boy, now just at the edge of manhood, and he was old enough to fully understand the importance of the pilgrimage. Joseph gathered his tools, and Mary packed provisions for the trip. The journey to Jerusalem would be long and tiring, but it was a time of great celebration for the Jewish people. It was a time to remember how God had freed the Israelites from slavery in Egypt and brought them into the Promised Land. Families would offer sacrifices, share meals, and recount the stories of God's faithfulness. The road to Jerusalem was filled with people, and many families traveled together in large groups for safety and companionship. Mary and Joseph, though mindful of their son, let him travel with the extended family. Jesus, being a boy now, walked with his cousins and friends, laughing and talking as they made their way south to the great city. Mary and Joseph likely spoke quietly along the way, discussing the significance of the upcoming festival and the rituals that would take place at the temple. Jesus, eager to participate in these sacred rites, asked questions about the history of the Passover and what each tradition meant. When they finally reached Jerusalem, the city was teeming with people. The sound of prayers, the bleating of sacrificial animals, and the bustling of pilgrims filled the streets. The city was alive with the spirit of the holiday. Mary and Joseph, along with Jesus, would have made their way to the temple, where they would offer their sacrifices and join with others in prayer. There, Jesus would have witnessed the great rituals of the Passover celebration, the slaughter of the lambs, and the singing of the psalms. For a young boy, it must have been a moment of awe, a chance to experience firsthand the power and holiness of the God his family worshipped. The week passed quickly in the joy of the festival, and when it was time to leave, Mary and Joseph began the journey back to Nazareth. It was a long, dusty road, and as the family packed up and prepared to go, they assumed that Jesus was with the rest of the caravan. It was common for children to travel with other relatives, and so they set off without worry. But after a day's journey, as they made camp for the night, they realized something was wrong. They had not seen Jesus for hours, and when they asked around, they found that he was nowhere to be found. Panic swept over Mary and Joseph. Their hearts raced as they realized that they had left Jerusalem without their son. They immediately turned around and made their way back to the city, retracing their steps through the familiar roads, calling out his name as they searched. The city was quieter now, with the festival over and many people already gone, but the search felt endless. Day after day they looked for him, and with each passing hour, the worry grew heavier. Finally, after 3 days of frantic searching, they found Jesus sitting in the temple. But he was not lost, nor was he frightened. Instead, he was calmly sitting among the teachers of the law, the scribes and religious scholars who spent their days studying and teaching the scriptures. Jesus, even at his young age, had been asking them questions and speaking to them about the meaning of the scriptures. The teachers, amazed at his understanding, were captivated by the depth of his insight. It was clear that this young boy was no ordinary child. Mary and Joseph, though filled with relief at finally finding him, were also confused and perhaps a little frustrated. Mary approached her son with a mixture of worry and tenderness in her voice. "Son, why have you treated us like this?" she asked, her voice filled with both concern and a touch of rebuke. "Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." Jesus looked up at his mother with calm eyes, and without hesitation, he replied,
"Why were you searching for me? Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house?"
His words, though simple, carried a weight of meaning. Mary and Joseph, still trying to understand, exchanged looks of uncertainty. They did not fully grasp what Jesus meant by "in my Father's house," but they knew it had something to do with his unique relationship with God. Even at this early age, Jesus seemed aware of his divine calling. Though Mary and Joseph did not completely understand his words, they knew deep in their hearts that something extraordinary was unfolding. As they left the temple and began their journey home, they were no longer the same. Mary pondered these events in her heart, reflecting on the mystery of her son and the things he had said. Jesus, meanwhile, continued on the path of growing in wisdom and grace. As they returned to Nazareth, life slowly returned to normal. Jesus, now more aware of his special connection with God, returned to the quiet rhythms of village life. He helped Joseph with his work as a carpenter, learning the trade and continuing to grow in stature. But those who knew him in Nazareth saw something different in him, a quiet wisdom, a depth that set him apart from other boys his age. Jesus did not speak much of what had happened in Jerusalem, but his life, though hidden, was preparing him for the great work ahead. In the years that followed, the quiet life of Nazareth continued, and Jesus grew physically and spiritually. He learned, he prayed, and he studied the scriptures. He grew in favor with both God and man, and though his full mission had not yet begun, it was clear to those who watched him that he was destined for something greater. The incident in the temple, though brief, marked a turning point in Jesus' life. At age 12, he had begun to understand his unique role in God's plan, and though he remained with Mary and Joseph, living humbly in Nazareth, his heart was already aligned with his Heavenly Father's will. This was just the beginning of a journey that would take him far beyond the small town of Nazareth, and the world would soon know the full extent of the divine mission that had been entrusted to him.
Thank you for watching. What did you learn from this story? Let's know in the comment section. Please subscribe, like and share.